Joining us now is the Republican senator from the great state of South Dakota, Mike Rounds. Good morning to you, Senator. Let's get this right out of the way first. What's your take on the massive back and forth reality battle between President Trump and Elon Musk?
It was moving faster than most of us could keep track of, so most of us just decided to let it play out while we go back to work on that particular legislation that we've been focused on for the last couple of weeks, and that is the reconciliation process. We've got a lot of work to do in a very short period of time, and if we don't get it done, there's going to be a heck of a tax increase on the American people, and people in South Dakota would be faced with a $2,400 tax increase next year. We can't let that happen, so that's where our focus is right now. We'll let those guys work this through the process on their own, and they'll be able to figure it out. They don't need our help.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of changes that the Senate wants to make. I know you guys have had a few days now to really sit down in these meetings and really start to discuss and go over some things. For you personally, what are some changes that need to be made?
We've worked through one of them, I believe, and that is the House had sent over a version that was kind of a sidebar issue with regard to the sale of spectrum, of the electromagnetic spectrum, which was really being used by the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. And if the Commerce Committee would have been allowed to have sold off some of that, it would have really impacted our ability to provide adequate radars and so forth through the Department of Defense. But just as importantly for the Golden Dome concept, which is what we're really working on, to protect the United States against threats of incoming missiles and so forth, that would require this part of the spectrum for DoD use, and we had to make sure we had it protected. I think we've got it put together appropriately so that we can protect that part of the spectrum. We're moving forward, but we want to get it done. We got to get back focused on getting that tax increase stopped, and that's what this is all about. Stop that tax increase from going into effect. Allow the economy to continue to grow like it did back from 2017 till 2020. That was when President Trump proposed this in the first place. We've got to make it permanent. And in doing so, the economy is just going to explode for us. And that's what this is all about. Grow our way out of the revenue issues we've got right now, but do it not by increasing taxes, but rather by decreasing it, keep that tax rate where it's at today, accelerate the depreciation, accelerate the expenses with regard to research and development so that the businesses come back in, put that into it right now. We grow the economy and we keep those taxes down on the American family. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, Senator, I know a lot of the fiscal conservatives don't think that the one big beautiful bill cuts enough spending, but of course it only can cut mandatory spending, not discretionary. The White House just sent over another what's called a rescission package on discretionary spending. So do you think combining the two of those together, maybe not in the same bill, but at least at the same time, helps ease some of the concerns about cutting spending with that second bill?
You know, we like the idea that they're talking about rescissions because we actually do that every year that we do an appropriations process. I'm on the appropriations committee this year. This is the first time around, but we have about 27, 28% of what we spend is actually run through the appropriations process every year. The rest of it's all on autopilot. And the stuff that's on autopilot is what we can deal with in the reconciliation bill that we've got in front of us right now. But when we go back in as appropriators, we will look at the rescissions that are being proposed by the executive branch. And that's a healthy part of this discussion. The executive branch looks at what's already been appropriated and they say, you know what? We've got a program where we don't need as much money as we thought we needed, and we can still do the work that's been directed by Congress. And that's a healthy way. That's the way this is supposed to work in the first place. So rather than simply holding that money and using it for something else, I like the fact that the Trump administration has said, we're going to send it back to Congress. That way it can be reutilized or it can be saved.
Yeah, Senator, I think it was Politico last week or earlier this week reported that on the rescission bill and the cuts to NPR and PBS, that you might have had some questions about that because of how it might impact radio and emergency information in Native American areas and rural areas. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, that was the concern that I expressed, and we're looking at it right now. I've got 9 tribes in South Dakota. They're very rural. And their only way really of communicating emergencies, weather events and so forth is on that local radio station, and a significant part of that funding comes through NPR. We want to make sure we protect those folks who live in some of the poorest areas in the United States.
All right, South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds, thanks for joining us today and have a great weekend, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.